We're going to take a look at some of those options that are going to help us organize within our bin and ultimately help us along with our edit. Right now, I'm going to access my metadata display and I'm going to search for usage. I'm going to select both video and audio and hit OK. Now when I drag, you can see I have two columns, video usage and audio usage. What Premiere Pro is going to tell me within these two columns is how often I use certain assets. So let's take this first video and drag it into our timeline. You can see that now I have a 1 in both my video and audio columns. Now I know you must be scratching your head because you see video, but that audio track looks empty. That's because when the footage was exported, the audio track was muted. So there is an audio track there, it just has no sound. Because there is an audio track that is attached to the video, Premiere Pro is reading it that there is audio that could be used. We're going to go ahead and drag once again into our timeline. As you can see, the more that we drag, the more the numbers start to increase. I can even head over to my source monitor, drag my video only into my timeline. And now you can see my video usage has increased, but my audio has stayed the same. Once again, I'm going to drag my video only into the timeline. My video has increased, but audio has not been affected. I could do the same from audio by dragging and putting in the timeline, and now you see the audio usage has increased. One thing that's really useful when you use this feature is selecting the down arrow. Now I can easily find where I used this particular clip within my project. This becomes very helpful when you have a very large project and this particular clip could possibly have been used in multiple sequences. It is also helpful in this instance when we use this clip multiple times in one sequence. As you can see, the beginning gives us which sequence it's located, the name of the file, and what time code we can find this particular clip. I can go ahead and I could click and the playhead automatically jumps to the time code that I select. Once again, I could find my time code that I want to view and click. It becomes incredibly helpful when you use this clip often within your project. I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to select all, and I'm going to hit delete. Now you can see my video and audio usage column are all empty. The next feature that I want to talk about helps you declutter your project bin. There are going to be times that you receive assets and you're just not sure if or when you're going to use them. Premiere Pro has made it very easy for you to not have an abundance of assets in your bin. You only want visible all the assets that you're going to be using. As you start having a lot of assets, you want to make sure that you can clearly see everything that you need within your project. You really want to avoid cluttering up your bin. So Premiere Pro has offered a feature within our metadata display that we're going to search for hide. We're going to select and hit OK. And now when I drag, I have a column with a whole bunch of checkboxes. It is very important to know that when we select to hide an asset, we are not deleting the asset. We're just hiding it within our project bin. So if I wanted to hide this last footage, I'm going to click and you can see that it's highlighted. This does not mean that it is hidden. This is Premiere Pro's way of saying, are you sure you want to go ahead and hide this? I do. So I'm going to select again. And now it's hidden. Once again, I'm going to select. Are you sure you want to hide it? I do. And now it's hidden. Once again, we did not delete the files. All we did was clear up our bin when it came to our assets. Now, what happens if you have a change of heart and there actually is a section that you can use that footage in? I'm going to go ahead and right click and select View Hidden. And now you see that the two pieces of footage come up with check marks. I'm going to go ahead and deselect, right click, and select View Hidden. Now I have my assets back. The last feature that I want to talk about is available on the latest updates of Premiere Pro, and that is how we view our project bin. As a video editor, we're used to two views. We're used to viewing in the list mode and in the icon mode. But Premiere Pro has offered a new viewing mode that helps us organize our assets a little bit easier. And that's the Freeform mode. I'm going to expand this bin a little bit. Now it looks like our icon view, but there's so much more that we can do in this section. Before we get started, it is highly suggested that if you're planning on using the Freeform View, that you look into a 2-monitor editing system. Typically, I have a 2-monitor editing system, but for demonstration purposes, I've contained myself to 1 monitor. Now, Freeform View helps you freely organize your workflow. I'm going to be honest, I'm not the type of editor that really utilizes storyboards. I typically organize my footage as I go, but I found it very helpful within Freeform that I can start to develop a digital storyboard. I can organize by B-roll, by what's in the shot, character, dialogue, the type of shot, and even scene. So let's say this is my scene. I can go ahead, highlight it all, right click, and I'm going to select New Bin from Selection. You can see a bin has formed. I'm going to right click. I'm going to rename it Scene 1. If you're starting to put together a pretty heavy project, especially a short film or a commercial with multiple scenes, this is definitely something you really want to think about when it comes to developing your workflow. I don't have that, however, with this particular project. I have one scene, it's very short, so I'm going to hit Undo. What I do want to do, though, is I want to organize by type of shots. I could organize by weights and exercises. I can organize by wide shot versus close shot. There are really an endless amount of options when it comes to organizing. For this particular scene, I want to organize by weights and exercises. Now, this is helpful, but we can take it a next step when it comes to organizing. I know we're accustomed to using labels, and that's easy to view within our list mode. But with this, it's a little bit more difficult. The squares are smaller, and I really want it to stand out which category belongs with what. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to right click and I'm going to select New Item. I'm then going to select Color Matte. There's no need for me to have it so big. And I'm going to hit OK. I'm going to make this red and hit OK. Let's make it red, the title. And now you see I have a red square. So anything that's associated with my weights falls under the red square. I could go ahead and do the same. New Item, Color Matte, bump down the size. Let's make this yellow. So anything yellow involves our exercises. That's a great labeling system, but we can take it a step further. I'm going to right click on my red square and I'm going to select New Sequence from Clip. Now you can see I have two squares and my red square is now in my timeline. I'm going to expand my program monitor and let's add a text box. I'm going to type weights so it's nice and large and I could clearly see my label. Now, when we head back to our bin, we see that we have two red squares. We have a weights and we have a plain red square. This plain red square has now become redundant, so I could go ahead and click, right click, and select hide. Let's move our label above. And now I can see that anything I put within this general area is going to relate to the weights footage. I could do the same over here. Let's New Sequence from Clip. Let's select New Sequence from Clip. I'm going to select my text box. Let's select exercise. Let's select our yellow box and we're going to hide. Now we can clearly see anything within this labeling involves the exercise. Anything within this labeling involves the weights. We can take it a step further to really help us quickly go ahead with our edit. As I mentioned before, with this area, we really want to think about storyboarding. So, looking at this footage, I'm going to mark my in and out points. I want to start that he grabs the weights and then he's doing his shoulder press. Then go to a close-up shot and end with the wide shot. What I can do is I could hold Shift, select each clip. I'm going to right click and I'm going to hit New Sequence from Clip. You can see that everything that lines up over here is now in our timeline. So when I hit play, I have him pulling the weights. I have the close-up of his shoulder press. a close-up of his face, and then I end with the wide shot. Freeform lets you start to form a storyboard where you can lay out your clips per scene, and with the click of a button, you have a rough draft. There's really an endless amount of options that Adobe offers now that really help you in a creative way.